today I'm going to talk about one of the outputs I was responsible with together with my colleagues of the Roma Tre team. That is the needs analysis that led later to the development of the ENRICH project. The title is Unveiling Teachers and Learners' Practices and Beliefs, the ENRICH Needs Analysis, Surprising Findings. Yes, because we were quite surprised, even if we expected a lot of what came out. Some of the things surprised us totally because they went beyond our expectations. And I use the Unveiling Teachers and Learners' Practices and Beliefs mostly because we wanted to know more about teachers' practices. Okay, just a moment. Right. I'm here repeating the ENRICH project main aims that you have already heard this morning and most recently from Nikos Sifakis, because I wanted to link the needs analysis to the ENRICH aims. Well, the ENRICH aims were to promote teacher competencies that are crucial for responding to and building upon the diversity found in today's multilingual classrooms across Europe, and to develop a high-quality continuous professional development infrastructure to empower English language teachers in order to integrate the current role of English as a lingua franca in multilingual classrooms. Well, that was the original aim of the project, and the whole team, the whole ENRICH team had to start from that, from the main aims, yes, but where to start from? And this led us to the adventure of the needs analysis. Well, let's say that the research design of the course was meant to have a needs analysis, the online course development based upon the needs analysis, the handbook development, and the dissemination and evaluation, which are the outputs that you're going to hear about, you've already started hearing about today in this part. Let's talk about the needs analysis. First of all, a few things about what is the background that we use. We use the mixed method research, combining both quantitative and qualitative tools. By quantitative, we refer to the questionnaires. By qualitative, to the use of focus groups. And we developed an English language teacher online questionnaire and an adolescent paper questionnaire and a young learners focus group, and we're going to deal with that. And then we analyzed the data that came out of the needs analysis with a mixed method, and then we started planning our course. We also carried out a specific data analysis per country in order to better understand what was needed in each country. And one of the surprises that came out is that the 5 countries shared a lot together. Now, the research design, the research methodology of the research design was inclusive of this needs analysis in order to investigate current English language teaching and learning practices, routines, attitudes, and beliefs in the 5 partner countries that have similar but different education system, curriculum organization, teacher education traditions, and language policies. This is something important to bear in mind, because too often we do not reflect upon the country identities. We had similar education system, but we had slight differences among each country. And then the aim was also to carry out an accurate analysis of both teachers and learners' current teaching and learning needs in the diverse ELT educational context. So this was the purpose of the needs analysis. And it was based initially on a comprehensive literature review related to both multilingualism and ELF, because we wanted to know more about the multilingual context that the 5 countries had. and how ELF would have been accepted or not accepted in a way. We carried out a literature review on teacher effectiveness and on language teaching and learning. These were the 3 points, the initial points. But what was needed in order to carry out the needs analysis? Well, first of all, we needed background information about each country's educational context and about multilingual school population. We wanted to know more about that. And then we needed detailed information about multilingual classrooms and the presence in those classrooms of migrants and refugees in each country's local schools. And we also needed to develop accompanying documents, for example, the cover letters to be sent to the parents of the students in primary and in secondary schools, or for example, in the focus groups, we needed to have translation protocols of translation of documents, but also we had to pilot the tools. These took us over a month of work once we developed the tools in order to pilot them. And it was piloted in the 5 countries. Now, what was agreed upon by the team? Well, we all agreed that as for the sample that we were going to choose, we needed to agree on a convenient sample size of the survey population, which was composed by teachers, pupils from multilingual classrooms in 5 countries. So we agreed that we were going to choose 120 English language teachers per country for a total of 600, 100 adolescent learners per country for a total of 500, and 20 young learners between 11 and 13 years of age, and for a total of 100 young learners. Which type of tools did we use? Well, we decided that a questionnaire would have been the most suitable tool to be used with teachers, and we decided to use it, develop it in English, and to deliver it, administer it online. And we will see the details about the questionnaire later. Then we decided to have, for adolescents, a paper questionnaire in the country's language and to be administered within local schools, because we wanted to make sure to reach out all the adolescents that compose our sample. But we also decided to use focus groups for young learners, ages 11 to 13. Why? Because a questionnaire wouldn't have been suitable, appropriate enough for such an age group. And that's why we decided to develop the focus group. So you see, the needs analysis had 3 main tools: the teacher's questionnaire, the adolescent's questionnaire that was on paper while the teachers was online, and person-to-person focus groups with younger learners. Now, let's look at the teacher's questionnaire. The teacher's questionnaire was composed of 43 items and divided in separate sections. The main purpose was to record teachers' training needs and beliefs regarding the role of linguistic diversity, social inclusion in their own country, what it meant to them teaching multilingual classes of young and adolescent learners and learners from migrant backgrounds, the competence that they thought were needed to meet learners' current and future language needs, and how they thought it would have been good to integrate multilingualism and ELF in classroom practices within the demands of current societies they lived in. And the last, we wanted to ask them how, if and how they used innovative language teaching practices, for example, translanguaging. Did they implement CLIL? Did they use TBL? Did they use ICTs in the multilingual classroom in order to improve the learners' learning outcomes, including learners from migrant backgrounds? You see, this idea of having learners from migrant backgrounds constituted bulk of the needs analysis. Now, what about the needs analysis for adolescents? I already said that it was administered on paper locally. It consisted of 46 items. It was mainly multiple choice in the first section. And then as for the teacher's questionnaire, they were statements. Both teachers and then, in this case, adolescents had to express their positioning. So they aim to investigate what learners actually want to learn in the English classroom. Maybe they wanted to have native-like pronunciation. Maybe they wanted to learn strategies and how they wanted to learn it through, for example, collaborative tasks or authentic videos, the way they used English and ICTs in the classroom, within the classroom, but also outside the classroom for real-life communicative purposes. The way they expected they could use English or they would use English to communicate in the future for social, academic, or professional purposes. The Young Learners Focus Group was carried out with face-to-face meetings in local schools in a conversation mode. The meetings were carried out locally by the different partner country members. The organization was guided by a specifically devised protocol we all agreed upon, and it was a very strict protocol to be observed, not to create differences, because it was not a multiple choice question, obviously. And the number of young learners focus group was limited to 5 participants chosen by the classroom teacher, and the total duration for each session was 20 minutes. We, in our group, we had 2 trained observers that were used a specially a device grid to observe the interaction between the interviewer and the children. So we had the interviewer, the children, and 2 trained observers. Obviously, we only took notes of what was taking place because recording was not allowed. Which are the surprising findings? Well, I would say that they are surprising, but at the same time, they were very engaging for us, because what came out, first of all, went beyond our expectations, reinforced our initial hypothesis, and this was a very good message in a way, but also unveiled teachers' and learners' attitudes and personal beliefs and helped us further structure the CPD construct. And this was quite an important aspect. What you heard from Nikos and Maria earlier on was the construct that came out from the needs analysis, and the structure was a result of the needs analysis. Now, let's now go and look at the findings, the main findings. First of all, let's look at the figures. The teacher's questionnaire was administered in the 5 countries, and 620 English language teachers that had been reached by the questionnaire answered the questionnaire. Now, this is quite important because the teacher's age was, as you can see, the most relevant group was the one in the age between 36 and 55 years of age. We had the largest group, and they represented the highest percentage of those who answered. This means in many cases that it's teachers who are already working, have been working in the schools for quite a long time. They are permanent teachers, they are experienced teachers. But we also had answers from teachers who were starting at the beginning of their career, and they had been teaching up to 25 years. So we've got quite a variety. And in terms of gender, surprise, surprise, well, we had 532 female teachers and 88 male teachers, but this is representative of most of the countries. The first language of these 620 teachers was the language of the country they worked in, and there were only 3 native English speakers and 8 teachers who declared to be bilingual speakers. So this is the overall picture of who constituted the sample of the teachers. Here you can see in this representation here, the countries, the number of teachers per country and the percentages. You see that most of the countries were well represented, more or less the same, and between a range of 107 to 151. 151, sorry. So more or less these were the responses that we had. But let's have a look at what they said. For example, what did they say about their teaching practice? I picked up only a few questions because, as you can understand, I couldn't present all the results of each questionnaire, but I thought this would have been interesting in terms of what guided us, so representing the reality of the CPD course, but also what was surprising or engaging for us. Well, you can see there that the statement number 18 said, I expose my learners to uses of English similar to those they may be exposed to outside the classroom. And you can see that, well, between they responded between always and often over almost 70%. So they do that, they declare to do that. They develop their own additional teaching materials to address the needs and wants of their multilingual learners. Here we've got a lower percentage, but they are there. They are there. And they were also asked whether to respond to the statement, I teach standard British or American English pronunciation to my learners. Here we've got a very high percentage of people who said always, 42%, and often 40%. So here you've got a first representation of the teachers who responded to the questionnaire. Some voices from the field, from these English language teachers who responded to the statement, the school where I teach supports the social integration of learners of migrant backgrounds with special programs and or events. Here we've got, you see, a 47% that agrees. So this means that teachers are aware of English language teaching in multilingual classrooms, of teachers' current ELT practices and awareness of the status of English, teachers' beliefs, and teachers' awareness of the learner preferences. This is quite an interesting graph. Have a look and try and remember these voices from the teachers, because they will be compared to the voices from the learners. What do they say? Well, remember that the colors, orange and not orange, brownish, sorry, and yellow are often and always. So we should sort of match them together and look at which the highest percentage are. Well, the highest percentage tells us that they teach standard British or American English pronunciation. And that at the same time, they say that when they expose their learners to uses of English similar to those that they may encounter. But what do they say as for their learners using English outside their English class? They are not sure, because here we've got only a 45% that says sometimes, almost no, 1% says always, and 10% often. So they think that their learners do not use English outside the classroom, but only a small amount, okay? And what about their teaching and using authentic materials? Well, here we've got different percentages. They use it, and but the percentages are around over 70%. So they teach original ones, original and authentic materials. Very quickly, I'll go through that because this is for each of the questions. In my class, I give learners several opportunities to interact in English. Well, the percentages are quite high. and this regards their teaching practice. In terms of teachers' attitudes and beliefs, well, look at what they say in terms of whether it is important to integrate examples of English used by non-native speakers in my teaching. Well, there is almost 50% that agree, but well, almost 30% neither agree nor disagree. So I would think that part of what they responded agrees, but not totally. But also that non-native, the current status of English as a global language implies that non-native uses of English are as valid as native uses of English. So here we've got a different perspective, which is quite interesting, because if you put together strongly agree and agree, we've got over 65%. So they are keen in non-native uses of English as valid as native uses of English. So this is their positioning in a way through these statements. And what about the statement, teachers of English should have native-like pronunciation? Well, look at that. Well, that's interesting, because the neither agree nor disagree tells us something about teachers. They have to think about it. And it's interesting that, anyway, a smaller percentage agrees. And so we are on the move. This is one of the surprising discoveries, that teachers are on the move. They need to think about it. And what about non-native teachers can be good language models? Well, that's it's a clear positioning of the teachers. Look how many agree or strongly agree. So they are already going beyond what we expected. And when we ask them, I'm comfortable with my own accent. Well, again, very, very positive response. And the role as a teacher of English to correct the learners' incorrect uses of English. Here we've got a sort of unbalanced position. I mean, we've got some who agree, some neither agree. So they are thinking about it. This tells us they are thinking. They are not pretty sure. They want to think about it, and it's quite important. Okay, let's go very quickly. For example,
just one minute more.
But
or two.
I started at 38.
Yes. Don't worry.
Okay.
Then we got.
I'm sorry. So
I
thought
3 minutes maximum.
Okay. So I will quickly jump this one. Let's look at the adolescents. Okay, we had 505 adolescents in the 5 countries. And there you see the distribution and also the age range. And some questions regarding classroom learning about their course book. They find their course book quite useful. And they like the materials other than the course book used by the teacher in the English class. So they appreciate that. And in terms of classroom learning and learning awareness, they say that my teacher uses authentic materials in the English classroom. And here they say that it's only sometimes, not often, not always. Remember what the teacher said? They say they use that. Okay. And what about where they learned English from? Well, they learned it from English classes at school. The majority agrees. But look at statement 40. I learn more English outside of school than in class. The majority agrees. This is interesting. So students are already learning. They agree that they learn outside. This is what they use in terms of social media. They learned English through using social media, and they learned English watching movies and TV series. Partly we had foreseen that, but it comes very clear. They have no uncertainties. And look at what they summarize here. They say that here it's more or less the same as for the teachers. I learned English from using social media, from watching YouTube, from watching movies and TV series. Not so much in terms of playing online games, but the one that gets most responses is I've learned English from listening to music. It still goes, still alive. Okay, what about teacher authentic materials? We already said that they use it, so I will skip this one, sorry. And I'm sorry, there is a repetition and I will skip that. When they were said to react to, I can communicate in English with other people, well, they strongly agree. I learned more English outside of school than in class. Again, the same question as before, they agree. Well, this is interesting because it goes to what, in order to be a good speaker of English, I should not make grammatical mistakes. Well, 37% agrees, but 30% neither agree nor disagree. So they need to think about it. And in terms of, in order to be a good speaker of English, I should sound like a native speaker. Well, you see that is a higher percentage of neither agree nor disagrees there. Again, they are thinking about that because this is something maybe they're reflecting upon. Well, let's finish, come to the conclusion, talking about the focus groups and the voices from the field. As I said before, we use the focus groups, each with 5 learners. And I'm sorry, here I left something wrong because it was an example from Italy. But it's important that they were boys and girls, and they came from a multilingual school. And we divided the responses, categorizing the learners as ELF users in terms of intelligibility and creativity and authenticity and usefulness of what they said during the focus group. What did they say? Well, the question was, do you ever use English outside the school? If yes, tell me when, how, whom, with. In which situations outside school were you able to use English? Can you make any examples? Well, I'm going to show all the examples they made. Look at, they've got pen friends, they play video games, they use English expressions to make funny jokes with my friends and parents. English gives the idea. So this is already a special relationship young learners have with English, or they use English to give driving directions to foreigner. And the other question was, what is your favorite website, app game among those that use predominantly English, and why? And here they say that they use apps on their smartphone, they play it in English because they find it useful, they understand better, and people understand what I mean while playing. And this is very important because it gives you the idea that they are not concerned with standard English, but with other people from other countries that they mediate with. They use PlayStation and videos. This is the last one. What do you do when you don't understand something when talking to other people in English? How do you solve such problems? Well, interesting. If I don't understand something, I say, can you repeat, please? Which is strategies already in use. If the teacher does not understand me, I explain the concept in Italian. So they translanguage and or ask to repeat. What do you think is missing in your English lessons? I like group activities. We would like to do it more. And we study formal issues. Well, we should get used to using English in practice. And I don't like exercises during the English lessons. I like the way teachers teaches. She makes it interesting. She uses Kahoot. You see the connection to apps. To conclude, what are the implications of this finding for teacher education? We need to we thought that we needed to reshape teaching and learning practices, and this is why ENRICH CPD came out. It highlighted the teachers' overall understanding and awareness of multilingual classes' new communicative needs, even if they're still a bit uncertain on how to deal with that. English different instantiations in ELF and their non-native speaker role. The need to prepare learners as successful communicators, accepting forms of translanguaging in communication. The need for authenticity of input and task, the relevance of out-of-school experience, of ICT use, and of social media. What about learners? Learners' awareness of their learning process. They are very clear. They are very focused on the reflections they make upon their learning process, of their communicative competence and of the most appropriate communication and skills. Implications, so we need reflective teacher education where what English is and ELF are embedded throughout the course, and components and learners' language experience are valued in classroom life. And I think these were the conclusions, the questions we ask ourselves as a team at the end. What do teachers' answers unveil about their practice? What should be taken into consideration when planning a CPD? What do adolescents' answers unveil about their communication? And what do young learners' voices tell us about their language learning awareness? And I've finished.